Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. So I won't use the mayor's gavel this time. I'm going to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural session of the Hamilton Township Council's declaration of elected office for the new council members. These council members, as you know, have been elected to serve Hamilton Township for the period 2018 to 2022. My name is Arthur Anderson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for Hamilton Township, and I'll be officiating the inaugural portion of today's meeting. I will be inviting each member of council to come forward individually to say their declaration of office and sign their declaration before the clerk. I'll also ask the mayor to deliver his inaugural address. And if you can see from the agenda, we will be having a reception shortly after the and light refreshments, which I will invite everybody to attend. So, as I say, there's no time like the present. Following the inauguration at 2 o'clock, we will be having our first meeting of the council. So, we'll have our inauguration, and then we'll be getting down to council business today as well. So, looking forward to that. So, at this time, I would like to get to start with introducing the elected and acclaimed members of council, and for the term 2018 to 2022. And I'll start with Mayor acclaimed William King, Deputy Mayor acclaimed Scott Jitt, Councillor-elect Pat McCourt, Councillor-elect Mark Lovesham, and Councillor-elect Larry Williamson. The other person officiating or involved in today's ceremonies includes Municipal Clerk Kate Sewers. So before I turn it over to Kate, I was going to ask Sandra Bell-Botters to come forward. As you know, Sandra Bell-Botters is our certified celebrant, and she's going to deliver the invocation. She's our designated officiant to provide civil marriage solemnization in the township. So I'm going to welcome up Sandra.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your worship, councillors, staff, guests, family, and friends. I welcome you to this place to witness another piece of history in the life and work of Hamilton Township, as our elected officials take their oath of office and resume their duties for which they have been elected. I'm humbled to be asked to give the inaugural address this year, so I thank you for that opportunity. As I thought about what I might say, I was tempted not to write notes, but to simply talk. But further consideration of that made me realize it wasn't a good enough idea to simply talk without any preparation or sense of direction. The reason that I raise this is because I expect the residents of Hamilton Township expect each of you to do due diligence for the success of the position for which you have been elected to serve. That you will simply not talk, but that you will become intimately familiar with whatever situation comes to you in order to make informed decisions for the best possible outcome for all concerned. Several years ago, a coat of arms and a township flag was commissioned and designed. A great deal of time, effort, and research went into developing the symbols in the coat of arms and those that adorn our flag. Every detail tells a story, honors our history, and our dwelling places. Our flag and the coat of arms, or crest, must be upheld and be part of the plan. The motto, by land and water we flourish, must be lived in order for the latest symbols to have credibility. Hamilton Township has a strategic plan. We have some things on the visual there. Time and effort has been put into developing a vision, a mission, and values. And do you keep these physically before you when in your meetings, or while you are out individually in the community, in your home, in your places of employment, and live the vision, the mission, and the values. If not, they are only words on a piece of paper until you give them life and meaning, until they are a part of you and the role in which you serve. Maclean's magazine named Hamilton Township as the 5th safest place to live in Canada. Why do you suppose that happened? Will our vision, mission, and values being lived out by our first responders, by our emergency responders, residents, elected officials, businesses, the municipal staff, have anything to do with us being the safest? Hamilton Township has been home to me all my life, and it will be home to those who move here to our township from Canada, or to build homes, or to retire. New residents, they bring their expectations, ideas, cultures, faiths, and traditions, and different experiences from their return. It will be up to each of you to discern why they chose this township over any other, and to share what it means to live in a safe and safe community in Canada. But most importantly, the value of your leadership, your teamwork, your integrity, respect, and your professionalism. The role that you have been playing or elected into is a challenging one. Where you are newly elected to this term, you come with your campaign promises and your call to serve. So welcome to the team and congratulations. I take this opportunity to say to William Payne, to Bill, your worship, congratulations. To Scott Jibb, our deputy mayor, congratulations. To Mark Larson, congratulations on your new role now as a councillor, and thank you for your past leadership as our mayor. And congratulations to your position, Pat Hodge, being re-elected as councillor. And we give thanks to Gary Woods for his service as deputy mayor, and for what he continues to do in the township in your capacity. So I say thank you for your desire to serve. Thank you for the experience that you bring to your roles. Thank you for your heartfelt and deep-seated interest you have in this township that you call home. And may you always be mindful that you may not always agree or please all the people all the time, but in the end of the day, we're all in this together. When there is one area of our township struggling, we all struggle. When there is need in our communities, it affects all the communities within the bounds of the township. You have been elected by the people for the people. You represent us, but the people are here for help as well. It brings a much larger name to you. We have elected you, but I think the people who have elected you, we have a responsibility to help you, not to always be critical if you don't always agree. I wish you on behalf of the residents all the best to each of you in your personal lives and in responsibilities for taking into life. My wish in addition to all that I have said is to your families, for they will be affected by co-living, by missed meals, and extended hours away from home. So I say to you, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and blessings to each of you.
Thank you very much, Senator, for those well thought words. I'm going to move on to the
I, Scott Zibb, I am being claimed to the office of Deputy Mayor in the municipality of the Township of Hamilton, County of Northumberland, do solemnly promise to declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward for promise thereof for the exercise of this office, advised corrupt or any other contract amendment. I will do those any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, regarding the municipal contract against the county. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And I make this solemn promise or declaration conscientiously believing to be true,
my back to the audience, my better side. It is certainly all of our hopes that you bring to the table the gifts that you have been blessed with. Your gifts of leadership, of understanding, of accountability, of fairness, and desire to do the right thing for all concerned. And those are only a few of the gifts that you bring. I'm sure your families and friends can think of far more blessings that you have received as individuals. But may you use the gifts that you have to work as a team with each other, to work for your constituents, to uphold Hamilton Township as one of the best places to live, that it will prosper our water and our land, but under your leadership, that you leave a legacy for those who follow. So blessings to each of you as you move forward and make this happen. Congratulations.
I've no doubt that will be no problem. I'd like to now ask the clerk to go forward and read that it.
So we received a letter of congratulations from Jim Nelson, a member of Parliament from Dearborn South. I would like to extend my sincerest congratulations as your member of Parliament on your inaugural council session. To new councillors, I wish you every success in your new roles. Public service is, to me, one of the most noble of callings. You give generously of yourselves to the betterment of our community. I look forward to working with your councils in areas of mutual responsibility. Again, let me congratulate you on your maiden voyage of council. I know the next 4 years will bring both successes and challenges, but we will all need to work together.
Normally see many people, you know. Welcome. It's nice to have you here. And there's a parent that I think will come there. Like to warn me and singing history. We didn't get water along with the little surprises that were coming along the way, like morning up Friday. I found out that I was going to be doing the inaugural speech, but yeah, I knew this where I would start. Much for being very professional. Appreciate it for us again. Thank you very much. It's hard to believe for 4 years. Gone by. I'm not going to be hopefully too long with it. I'd like to give you just a few general impressions of how I hope that this group of five they're going to operate over the next number of years. I've broken it down actually with 4 key words all brought to you by the letter C. First one being cooperation. Last 4 years, it's shown that although we didn't agree every time on all obstacles, we certainly made that possible. Really, not only our governance framework, but it has a positive effect on staff and things in council are satisfying. Second word is collaboration. We have about 30 or more positions on committees and councils and working groups, coordinator groups, and they have to be filled by just 5 members of council. So everybody's got to dig in, do the math. That's at least 6 each, and everyone's got to dig in and do their share. I also hope that we're going to use a collaborative process in our decision making. Not only staff, but not only council, but including staff that we depend on. The third C word is consideration. We'll have to reach out to the council, of course. We never know the other person's wrong. We will, however, need to have consideration for our staff. We expect a lot from them. If we expect a lot, we're going to have to put bullets in place for them to be able to do the job. In that vein, we have a number of bylaws presently that simply are not working. We've already started a review of some of those, and hopefully within the fairly near future, some of them are going to be revamped and brought out so that our staff can do the job that we want them to do. We also need to consider, this is perhaps most important, is our rate credits. I don't think you can ever not make improvements in customer service. We get frequently communication from ratepayers with regard to questions that they have, plans that they'd like to see implemented, even occasionally a complaint. When those things happen, I like to challenge our council, I like to challenge our staff. I like to see those people get a reply within 2 days, 2 working days. Doesn't mean you have to solve the problem. Doesn't mean you have to adopt a plan. Doesn't mean you've got all the information they need from you. But it lets them know that you're the person who's going to be dealing with them. That you've got the information on your desk, and that hopefully you're going to be able to give them a reasonable amount of time that you're going to be able to get back to them and hopefully solve the problem, or explain to them why the plan will or will not work, or whatever. So that's something that's going to be an expectation of mine, that we are going to really look after the ratepayers. My final C here is confidence. I've indicated at a couple of public outings that I realize my shortcoming is I've only had 1 term of council. Doesn't mean I'm not confident. I fully expect to be successful at being the next mayor of Hamilton Township because of all the people that are going to be around me. I have lots of confidence in this council. If I could use this, we have Mark and Pat who've had multiple terms at council. And if I could use a sports analogy, they're going to be our experienced and wily veterans. Scott and I have had, I think, a pretty good first term. We're both passionate about Hamilton Township. We're excited about the new positions that we're in. And we're going to try to avoid the sophomore jigs. And finally, of course, we have a rookie. Welcome, Larry. Full of exuberance, lots of new ideas. He's more than once already told me, willing to take on whatever it is I send his way. I'm not sure he has any idea what he's getting into, but I do know this about him. He's bright, enthusiastic, excited about what he wants to do, and we're really looking forward to having him join us. Okay? Thank you. Also, I'm confident about our staff. I don't know how many of you know, but we have some extremely talented people who work for Hamilton Township. We're very, very lucky. If I could continue the analogy, they are our manager and our coaches. They devise our strategy. They bring staff reports, council to help us straighten ourselves out and stay on the path. I know we're going to do well. I know that we're going to do well with the people that we have around us. So I painted kind of a rosy picture, hopefully, of how I hope things are going to happen in the next 4 years. I have one request of council, of staff, and of everyone in general. Sandra brought up a title that goes with the mayor's position, and it's one that I am not comfortable with. For whatever reason, it doesn't fit the picture I have of myself. I don't think it fits me at all, and I'm going to ask if we could take that title, the worship, and just quietly put it on the shelf for the next 4 years. I prefer to be called by my name, but I understand that there are times when we're some maybe formal situations, and maybe that's not appropriate. We're going to have to accept at least that you can call me mayor, but I'm hoping that that is as formal as it gets for the next one. And with that, thank you very much again for attending, and we'll see you in the rest of the week.
Gotta be careful not to say. Mayor Kane, thank you very much for that address to your fellow colleagues on council, as well as to all staff and public, ratepayers, taxpayers that are here as well. So thank you very much both for your comments and observations, and certainly appreciation to Sandra for her invocation, and to the clerk for the process of swearing everybody in. I would now like to invite everybody, including council and everyone who's joined us today in the room, to come next door to enjoy for some light refreshments. And this is going to be followed, as I mentioned earlier, at 2 o'clock with our first council meeting. So thank you very much for your participation, and a warm round of applause to our new members.
Thanks, Kate. So they call our meeting to order at 2:02. Ask if we have any additions to the agenda. Seeing none, I need a confirmation of today's agenda. Moved by Pat. Second, Scott. Favor? Carried. Ask for declarations of pecuniary interest. See none. Presentations and delegations, we have none. This has the makings of a quick meeting. Public hearings and meetings, there are none. Planning bylaws, none. Brings us to section 8, adoption of previous minutes of council. The minutes of the regular council meeting were held November 20th, 2018. Do we have a mover to accept? Mark?
To adopt.
Sorry?
To adopt.
To adopt, okay, thank you. And second, Pat? Any changes or anything about the minutes? I call the question then, all in favor? Carried, thank you. No business arising from previous minutes? Committee reports. We have, there are minutes of the Heritage Advisory Committee meeting held November 28th. We need to move to accept for information. We have a mover. Move Scott. Second Larry, thank you. All in favor? And that's also carried. For the minutes of the Ganaraska Conservation Authority held October 18th. Mover and seconder, please. Mark, Larry. All in favor? Carried. Anything from the minutes? Nope. Public Works and Infrastructure, no reports. Corporate Services. Appointment of Committee of Adjustment. Is this where you step in, Sandra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, I believe you have my report in front of you indicating that on an annual basis, the committee of adjustment must be appointed since council is sitting as committee. This report just addresses that. Our bylaw will follow later on in the agenda, but I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Anyone for questions? Okay, just a comment. This is an area where we have discussed the possibility of replacing some of the council members with members of the public. Those council members here today would realize, of course, that we're going to be appointed for at least the first year. That gives us 12 months to discuss it. And I'll be talking to some of you, get your opinions, and I'll be talking to staff about opinions. But for now, we're going to carry on. It's really the only thing we can do, because even had we chosen to have a member of the public, we have to go through a whole process of applications and, meeting people and having, the whole complete process. It just simply can't be done at this point. So we're on board for the first year, Sandra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, to Committee of Adjustment for the year 2019. Anybody want to bring that? Scott, thank you. Seconded Pat. Any discussion? I'll call the question then. All in favor? Carried. 13.2, road allowance. We have a request to dispose as surplus. We're looking for a mover at the report CD 2018-10 regarding a request to declare a portion of a road allowance as surplus lands be received, and the Council of the Township of Hamilton acts as follows. 1. The Council deems surplus the land within Part 30, Concession 10, as in NC 338537, Township of Hamilton, being pin number 51114-0802, lying adjacent to the west side of 7418 Byers Road, as illustrated in the attached diagram, not to exceed 33 feet in width and running the entire length of the existing lot. And 2, that staff be directed to proceed with the procedures and requirements of the policy and procedure for closure and disposal of road allowance. Yeah. We have a mover, please. Thank you, Pat. Seconder, Mark. Discussion? Questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. .3, report CD 218-11, RIA road allowance, request to purchase. We need a mover for that report CD 2018-11 regarding a request to purchase a portion of a road allowance be received, and that the Council of the Township of Hamilton acts as follows. 1, the Council approves a request to purchase a portion of the street allowance, which is 33 feet by 140 feet, known as Lenore Avenue, lying west of Catherine Street, as shown on registered plan number 402 in the said lot, in the said township, and that staff be directed to proceed with the sale of land in accordance with the policy and procedures for closure and disposal of road allowances. I have a mover for this one. Pat, thank you. Seconder, Larry, thanks. Discussion? Go ahead, Scott.
I guess my question would be for staff, and I see Paul here. By the way, Paul, I attempted to do a site review yesterday and speak with you that not to extend today's meeting, but I wasn't able to do that. Paul, that section of land seems to drain from Ontario Street to the east to Catherine Street. Is there some drainage there? Is it open ditch drainage? Or am I just reading the lay of the land incorrectly and there doesn't have to be any significant drainage?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not aware of any subdrainage from Ontario. There is drainage, and we believe that is still referenced in the purchase.
And for open public discussion here today, how is that referenced in the report?
You can speak to that. I believe Kate can speak to this. Yes?
Right. I had a title search done. For the parcels to the north, there's 10 feet. The most southerly 10 feet is to be set aside for drainage. And then the parcels of land to the south that acquired the southerly parts of the road allowance, the southwesterly quadrant, it also said in that one, the most northerly 10 feet. So you're going to have a band of 20 feet straight across that's dedicated for drainage
And that's going to be dedicated.
to the township.
Dedicated to the township in the form of an easement.
It specifically in the report, I believe I referenced that. Yeah. There is a reference that it is registered to the township of Hamilton.
Mr. Mayor, on page 69 of 86, the references that about the fifth paragraph down, all parcels are subject to easement in favor of Ontario Hydro and reservation of easement to the Township of Hamilton for drainage. So this parcel would be subject to the same easements in favor of Ontario Hydro and to the Township of Hamilton.
I realize that today's discussion is about one of the parcels when others have been dealt with in the past. And the next word that I want to say is unfortunately, because I'm not a believer in giving up ownership of land in respect to our control of ownership of land for water drainage and having it replaced with an easement. I think that's something that has been done in the past, and I very much question it. However, considering that this is the fourth parcel, and I have realized that all along, it's the fourth parcel, it is in keeping with the other three. However, I just hope that we in the future retain ownership rather than give it away or sell it and just keep an easement. I think we lose some control of that. So thank you for your answers.
If I can add the picture that, or the sketch that you're talking about, page 72 of 88, it does show a drainage area going completely from Ontario Street through to Catherine. And I will add that I did do a site visit, and I'm not sure if it's the applicant or not, but somebody is already maintaining that piece of land. The grass is being cut, trimmed, and you wouldn't know it didn't belong to the lot. If you were just driving by looking at it, you wouldn't know that it was municipal property. So just thought I'd throw that in. Any other, Mark?
I'd just like to say that although I respect Deputy Mayor Gibbs' comments, in the same token, sometimes it's good to have an easement over owning a property, because then you have to maintain the property. Having an easement in this particular area is probably, as you've just mentioned, can be to an advantage, because it can be maintained by property owner and manicured and so forth, and not even look like it's our property or an easement. So it has its advantages and disadvantages, and I think you have to look at them individually. But in this particular case, as mentioned, it's already gone through 3 properties, so going through the 4th property would be just a normal practice, I think.
Yes. Thanks, Mark. And in reality, if the applicant decided then he was going to stop maintaining that small strip of land and the grass grew, they could literally complain to us that, there were insects, bugs, weeds, whatever, and we would be forced to go down and maintain it. So I agree, particularly as you're saying, the other 3 lots have gone, so. You all right, Scott?
No,
Yep. Any other further discussion? Okay, then I need to call the question then. All in favor? Carried. Uh, 13.4, report CD 2018-13, RIA letter of credit reduction to Baltimore Estates. We need a mover and a seconder that the report CD
2018-13 regarding request for a letter of credit reduction for the Baltimore Estates subdivision be received, and the Council of the Township of Hamilton acts as follows. 1. The council authorizes the reduction of the letters of credit for the Baltimore Estates subdivision PR-SUBDUV-2004-003, lots 1 to 11 inclusive, blocks A and B, and the street Archibald Court Plan 39M921 to an amount no less than $374,499.70, as recommended by Jim Teefy, Project Engineer, ACOM Canada Architects Limited. And 2, that all outstanding accounts are paid in full and the statutory declaration from the owner be provided prior to the release of the letter of credit. Do we have a mover? Mark, seconder Scott. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Point 13.5, Report 2018-27, REAR website RFP. Do you want to come forward with this, Paul? Or?
If I could speak to it, Mayor
Sure.
Kane, that would be great, just to provide a little bit of context for our new council member.
Good, thank you.
Concern or I guess some suggestions for some updates to the website had been considered or discussed in the past with council, but also by members of the public through the Treasurer's public open house. And had come back to council, and I believe we'd already actually had discussions on that. Staff went out and sought funding opportunities for this, and the returning members of council are already be aware of this. We were able to obtain some funding from the Rural Economic Development Fund through OMAFRA, which is basically 50 cents on the dollar. It's a half-half split. Up to an amount of $50,000 overall for the project, so $25,000 provided by the Rural Economic Development Agency, and then $25,000 to be on the portion of the township. At that time, when we had authorization from council for the mayor and treasurer to sign that, mayor and CAO to sign that funding agreement, it was $12,500 in 2018 from administration consultants, and then $12,500 in 2019. Of course, we're right at the end of 2018. Everything took a little bit longer, so it would just be a matter of rolling the 2018 dollars into 2019 to do that. We went out for an RFP, had 9 submit. 1 was non-compliant, and 8 were good. We had one vendor who submitted their application and hit all of the requests squarely as yes. Requests such as providing training to all people associated of staff to be able to maintain and update going forward. Keeping within W3C compliance to do with accessibility. Ability to complete and create fillable forms from stakeholders for documents such as PAPs for the tax, water hookup requests, and then able to go on and fill out some more public surveys, that sort of thing. Including modernized, up-to-date calendar with links to our iCompass module, search functions, economic development, social media integration, potential for a business registry within Hamilton Township, the ability to have e-commerce in the future should we be able to sell online or have people go in and pay their taxes and water bills and that sort of thing online. So basically, the company called eSolutions were able to meet all of those requirements. They've also dealt with the Rural Economic Development Fund already, so they know exactly what they're going to be looking for. It's a company that's currently dealing with 300 municipalities. I've dealt with them before in a former municipality. They write software, and they're actually throwing in a couple of modules. One is a procurement piece of software which helps you to formulate tenders, RFPs, RFQs, so requests for proposals and requests for quotes, to analyze them, to advertise them, that sort of thing. I'd looked into something similar that the county is using called Bonfire. The cost was about $14,000. This is included within our package, and we did a little bit of a negotiating on the back end, and we're able to get that software to create our own fillable forms, so we don't have to go back and pay somebody to do it, but we can have training on how to create them ourselves, and that's also included in it. So staff is recommending that we go with eSolutions. The reason that it's being brought forward this time is we just want to make sure that we meet all the deadlines for the funding request.
Thanks, Paul. So I believe if we can get a mover and seconder to get us on the floor, then we can open up for discussion. I'll just read the motion. That report T 2018-27 regarding the award of the township website RFP to be received, and that Council of the Township of Hamilton act as follows. 1, that report TR 2018-27 awarding of township website RFP be received, and further, that Council authorize the treasurer and CAO to award the contract for the township website redesign to eSolutions for the budgeted cost of up to $50,000, with $50,000 of funding from Rural Economic Development Program, the township portion to be funded from operations at a 50% rate of up to $12,500 for 2018, and a similar amount for 2019. Have a mover, please. Larry, seconder. Pat, thank you. Discussion. Pat?
I have a question and a comment. I was really glad to hear about the fillable forms and the potential for e-commerce. I was wondering timeline, when are we hoping to have this complete?
As far as from a funding perspective goes, we need to have the majority of the work done by the end of Q1 in 2019. However, as far as actually launching the site, we've discussed with eSolutions, and we're looking at a little bit more of a realistic date, as in May 2019, somewhere in and around there.
Thank you.
Further discussion, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Brings us to part 14, emergency services, no report. Communications and announcements, no report. 16, bylaws. Bylaw 2018-65, to establish a committee of adjustment and appoint members. We need a mover and a seconder. That bylaw 2018-65 being a bylaw to constitute and appoint a committee of adjustment and appoint members thereto for the 2019 year, be given first, second, and third reading, and finally passed this 4th day of December 2018. Mover, please. Thanks, Mark. Have a seconder? Pat, thank you. Discussion? Go ahead, Scott.
I just want to make sure we have the right date in bullet point 4, that this bylaw shall take effect and come in force upon the final passing thereof, and shall expire on December 31st, 2019. Am I thinking wrong? Is that the right date or incorrect date?
I believe it's the right date, because we won't have a new council, will we?
Correct. It lasts for 1 year, and the new appointing bylaw would be effective January 1, 2020.
Okay, thank you.
And I was assuming the reason it's different this year is because it's a new council. Yeah,
Because council
yeah.
sits as committee,
Yeah.
council must be appointed on an annual basis.
Okay.
If public sits, there's a different time frame, and it's a mixture, there's different time frames as well.
Good, thank you. Further discussion? Can I call the question then? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Sandra. A notice of motions, there are none. Media questions? Did I skip one?
Yeah, you did.
Sorry.
This one.
Why do I have a check mark beside it already then?
No, that's
Sorry.
where you are.
Okay.
Can you read that out?
I'm sorry, I missed 16.2, bylaw 2018-66, this is an important one that I tried to skip past, to appoint members of councils to boards and committees. We need a mover and a seconder that bylaw 2018-66, being a bylaw to appoint members of council to various boards and committees for the term of council, be given first, second, and third reading, and finally passed this 4th day of December 2018. And I have a complete list of the council members involved with the various boards and working groups. Accessibility Advisory Committee, Councillor Lovshin. Cold Springs Memorial Hall Advisory, Councillor McCourt. Cold Springs Park, Councillor Lovshin. Heritage Advisory, Deputy Mayor Jibb. Nominations, myself and Councillor Williamson. The old Canborn School, if we can revive that, Councillor McCourt. Parks and Rec Advisory Board, Councillors McCourt and Williamson. Police Services Board, myself and Councillor Lovshin. Joint Animal Control Municipal Services Board was a hot one, so everybody wanted that. I'm going to take that one. Cobourg Public Library, Councillor McCourt. The Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, Councillor Williamson. Safe Communities Northumberland. I guess I'll be joining you on that, Scott, from the county level. Ganaraska Conservation Authority, Councillor Lovshin. Corporate Services, myself and Deputy Mayor Jibb. Finance, myself and Deputy Mayor Jibb. Recreation Facilities, our Deputy Mayor and Councillor Williamson. Protective Services, Councillors McCourt and Williamson. And finally, Public Works and Infrastructure, Deputy Mayor Jibb and Councillor Lovshin. Thanks, Kate, straightening me out. So, any discussion? You look like you want to say something, Pat. You're good. Okay, no discussion, then I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The mover was Mark, seconder Scott. Sorry, I should have called it out loud. Now we're to notice of motions, and there are none. I'm almost relieved to see we don't have any media present. Well, I am relieved to see we don't have any media present. We have no closed session. Notices required by notice bylaw. The January Council and Committee of Adjustment meetings are scheduled for the new year. Both Committee of Whole and Committee of Adjustment will be on January 15th at 1 and 2 o'clock respectively, and regular council January 22nd at 1 p.m. Brings us to 22.1. We need a confirmatory bylaw, 2018-67. The bylaw 2018-67 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the regular council meeting held December 4th, 2018, to authorize its execution, be given first, second, and third reading, finally passed this 4th day of December. We need a mover and a seconder. Mark, thank you. Pat, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry.
Say a few words. I mean, this will be our last meeting for this year, and I just wish everyone a happy Christmas and holiday times, and all the best during the new year. See you in January. And Bill, congratulations to you. A great job today.
Thank you, Mark, for saying that. I extend my own best wishes to everybody over Christmas as well. It was probably something I should have done myself. I'm just too busy trying to get through this one to think that far ahead. Thanks, Mark. Any other discussion? Okay. We got a mover and a seconder then. We got Mark, and we had was Pat, I believe. Okay. All in favor? Good. Which brings us to adjournment. Are we going to start a new trend, or are we going to carry on? We're not starting a new trend, okay. Then,
I declare that my responsibility.
just pulling rank. Moved by Councillor Gibb. Excuse me, by Deputy Mayor Gibb. It's been for 4 years. And we need a seconder for that one then, okay. Thanks, Mark. Yeah.
If you get me ugly, I'll do it halfway through the meeting.
And so our meeting is adjourned almost exactly 2:30.